Quick message from our sponsor. Imagine if you could make your destination page match your messaging, eliminate leaks and distractions when sending someone from an ad or message, remove friction and make it easy to buy. Dream no more. Checkout Links is a simple but powerful app that lets you quickly create specialized bundles in a mini landing page that syncs directly with your Shopify checkout. Preload the shopping cart to reflect your order in that specialized bundle. You can automatically apply discounts so they don't have to manually type it in. And then you can also track individual link performance and so much more. You can find other creative ways to use them with your paid ads, customer support chats, holiday offers, new product launches, email and SMS campaigns, or even rewarding your VIP customers. Go to checkoutlinks.com/Matt to learn more and install the Shopify app. That's checkoutlinks.com/Matt. This is Brand Builders. We've been actively working in D2C land for years and are continuing to be in the trenches daily. I'm Matt Lady, one of the co-hosts. Each week I have an episode with Tom Brown and an episode with Richie Nishiko. Sometimes we'll have one together. We are here to share our unfiltered, candid, casual perspectives, insights, lessons, experiences on building a D2C brand. We text about this stuff all the time and are super nerds about all things e-commerce, and we just want to share this with you and hope you get something from it. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are back with this episode of Brand Builders with Richie. And so this episode's all going to be about who the heck is this guy? How did he get on the show? How did we meet? What his background is? Why he's like smart and what he's done with Birdie and how he's grown that brand from like 0 to multiple 8 figures. So this is what the episode's today about. So Richie, tell us, what the heck is Birdie? Who the heck are you?
Oh, thank you, Matt. Yeah, so got to get some credibility, to this random Asian guy who's been talking into the microphone.
Yeah.
So yeah, Birdie is we are a personal safety brand. So we sell personal safety alarms for women. We believe we envision a world where all women and all people are safe. We launched in November of 2019 with a hero product. It's called the Birdie personal safety alarm, and essentially what it is, it's like the modern day version of a rape whistle. So you pull a pin, it makes a really loud noise. Carry it around with you. Hopefully it scares some people off, keeps you safe, kind of peace of mind. We're all about empowerment. We don't believe in marketing from a place of fear. And yeah, we launched the business in 2019. And yeah, I don't know where you want to go from there. There's kind of a lot of intermediate stuff that you probably have questions about, or we could talk about.
Sure. And I was introduced to Richie and Birdie around April-ish, May-ish of 2020. And so Birdie had some initial success. They launched, and then Richie started learning Facebook ads from Common Thread Collective Admission Group. And that's when me and him connected, because I was in that group. I ended up being a community manager for that group for a while. And then one time he Slack DM'd me in the group, slid into my DMs, and was like, "Hey, we're thinking about scaling up Facebook. Like, are you available to take on new clients?" Yeah. I'm like, he's like, "What's going on here? Like, can you tell me like what these numbers mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got you." And so I didn't know Richie yet, like literally no idea, which is crazy because I think pretty much since that day, 2.5 years ago, there's been more days we've texted than not, by far. So
it's probably like a 90-10 ratio.
Yeah. I'm like way under exaggerating. So it's 90-10 probably. It's insane. So really good friend now. So I look at his ad account, and this is like the start of the pandemic back in 2020. And so his ad account is just firing. And he doesn't like he knows they're like making money and the sales are going up at Shopify. He's watching Shopify Live View and like looking at the Facebook ads. And so he's like, "Matt, is this good though?" I'm like, "Well, what's your like cost of goods? Like, what's your target numbers? All this stuff." And it's amazing. I'm like, "Dude, you do even more here. Like, you can optimize this. You can do this. You're just getting started, and it's just working." So we are talking about that. he was talking to some other people, other freelancers, some other agencies. I sent him back this, we call it the Lady Loom special, this 37-minute Loom video. And I don't even know the guy. And I'm just like, hey, Richie, here's the ad account. Here's the website. Here's what I think. And I kind of broke down between the difference between hiring someone like me, which was just a freelance Facebook advertiser, versus a full service agency who can do ads and email and website and CRO and all this stuff, SMS, all this stuff, right? So I like broke it down for him, basically turned away the work, basically told them to go hire this agency. And then they took off like a rocket. So like, Richie, like how, given knowing all that context and me sharing that, all that, like, what was your perspective, your take? Because I know what I just said. Like I walked into the account, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like you guys got a lot going here. Like, how did you get to that point? You said you launched in November. That was April. What was that first 6 months like?
Yeah, so it was pretty bad. I mean, to be honest. So we did maybe about $40,000 in December of 2019. And things just kind of fell off of a freaking cliff. And then I remember meeting Andrew Ferris, who used to be at 4x400. He's doing his own thing now. It turned out he was like a kind of a neighbor, lived in the same city, which is kind of rare I was like, who lives in Torrance? But whatever. I'm just, hey, you should try this Facebook thing. I was like, you sure that works? It's like, oh. And I was like, how do I do it? He's like, oh, just sign up for this thing. It's called Admission. I was like, all right, bet. And then enrolled, and then we didn't really start ad buying until May of 2020. So in April of 2020, we did $1,200 in sales for the whole month. Terrible. Like 1,200, 1,200. And then we started running ads on like the 5th of May. And I remember we spent like $50 that day and we made like $200. Like, oh, this is interesting. This is pretty cool. And we ended up doing $63,000 that month. And we scaled it to a place where we're doing $5,000 to $7,000 a day at like a 4 to 5 MER. And we continued that through the month of June. But through the month of June, I was like thinking, man, this is like a hot potato. I do not know what the hell I'm doing. I literally have 2 campaigns. It's a DCT with a interest stack, a lookalike audience stack, a broad targeting, and a remarketing. That wasn't even having the proper exclusions after I learned from Matt. Because when you audited the account, you're like, bro, your remarketing exclusions, they kind of suck, or they don't really exist. So I was like, what's a remarketing exclusion? So my mindset was, hey, I think this is interesting. You know, we're kind of printing money at this point. But I have no idea what the hell is going on. And so I just wanted to find someone or a group of people who could take it off my hands and do it the right way and not freak out when things start going south, because, you know, they always do eventually.
Yeah. So view through, baby. What about the view?
Oh yeah,
through?
What's a view through? I still don't know what that is. I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of.
So Richie gets to that point, ends up hiring another agency. They're relatively well known in our little D2C Twitter corner.
Yeah, give him a shout out.
Homestead Studio, Zach.
Shout out Zach. Shout out Connor.
He used to work there, and then they've grown a bunch since then. There are 40 plus team members now. I think they were quite a bit smaller when they were working with you guys. And all this being said, this is pre iOS 14.5. So just for the timeline, if people forget, that was 2021. So you end up going with an agency. Why did you end up going with an agency? And then what did that like open up and allow you guys to do for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I think the conversation that you and I had at the time was that, you know, yeah, we could just continue to ride this Facebook ads machine, but we didn't have Klaviyo email automation set up. So I was thinking, we probably need to do all these, like, have the basics, right? We need to have solid email automation set up. We need to be buying on Google, you know, AdWords. We weren't even doing any Google ads. I had just rebuilt the website on like $150 theme. And, you know, I was like, I think we need to do more stuff that's like blocking and tackling, and that's ultimately why we went to work with Homestead, because they did all of that stuff for us. And for a group of people who are very new at e-commerce, like really like new, like, having one contact helps streamline a lot of things, right? And they were basically, for those first, 6-7 months of really growing, where our true outsource head of growth. And I just gave them the approvals and made sure that we had enough inventory to sell.
Yep. So that makes sense. And I forgot to back up and say, Amy and Allie are co-founders of Birdie, and you're head of growth. And so none of you guys were like e-commerce first people. Like, they made the product and had this idea, and you had dabbled in e-commerce before, but like, this is your first like full-time gig in it. So
yeah,
you were really looking for that full outsourced head of growth, like you mentioned, a full team to kind of tackle all these different channels and mediums and the ups and downs, right? Not just, oh yeah, Matt, just like make our Facebook work better. And then you would have to go find, 2, 3, 4 other people to like do the rest of the channels, right?
Yeah. So someone who actually knew what they were doing. That was kind of what we wanted. So that year we ended up doing $7.5 million in sales. I can say that. And then we've been on a growth trajectory. We like 2x, a little more than 2x that last year. We'll grow by about 25% this year. But then I, eventually like to talk about some of the overall strategic thinking with the new product that we launch, and kind of the thought process there, expanding on different channels, how that experience has been for us, because I know a lot of people got screwed by changes in advertising and supply chain. So just how to think about growing an e-com business in the current climate. So yeah.
Yeah. So you, again, to recap the numbers, was 30 to 40K end of 2019 for 2 months. Fell off a cliff the first couple months of 2020. Then you got to about 40 to 50 K in like May or June, and then
63.
63.
And then 171 in June. I still remember those numbers.
And then 7.5 million by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So just second half of the year is just literally just straight up, like just
basically.
So, and then doubled that essentially the next year, and then took a step back this year. But you're doing a bunch of stuff, including developing a new product, literally adding a SaaS essentially to your e-commerce brand, which is what most brands don't really do. So what are you talking about, and what can you tell us about that and about Birdie Plus, which is a new product?
Yeah, so we started, so I think one of the things that we were very fortunate or good, whatever it was, like very early on, was we realized, or at least we gave some credence to the thought of, hey, what do we want this thing to look like, right? I think that's something that, what's the end goal? Like, and to be really concrete, is it to sell? Do you just want to cash flow the crap out of this thing? And that's something I don't necessarily know a lot of entrepreneurs in general really think through pretty deeply when they start businesses, right? And I think it really starts from the perspective of right, running a business. It solves a greater problem in your life, right? And that problem is, how do you live a good life, right? So having an understanding of what would make you happy and have a good life makes it a lot easier to kind of reverse engineer. Okay, if I had like my ideal life, well, how would this business play a role in that, right? And some people love running their business. Some people want to build to sell, right? And actually, that's changed in the past couple of weeks, man. And I don't think you know about that. But at the time, we thought, hey, selling. I mean, eventually, it probably makes sense for us to sell, just given the age, the time, Amy and Allie, like where they are in their life, where I'm at in my life. So having that understanding, it was like, hey, what's going to create the most enterprise value if we wanted to sell, right? And, you know, for us, our product is a single purchase product. It's not like a consumable. We're not going to get valued off of top line revenue as currently constructed. And, you know, we talked to people and, hey, maybe the multiple was about maybe like 3 to 6x EBITDA multiple, right? Or net income multiple. At the time, you know, at the first year, I think we did maybe 1 or 1.2 in EBITDA. You know, so you do the math. I'm not going to do public math because even though I'm Asian, I'm not going to subject myself to that.
What is your 3.6 or 7.2 is what?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. White people math. Good job, Matt.
Oh God.
Not canceled yet.
No, not yet.
And that just wasn't interesting, right? At least for us, given the rate that we were growing. So it's like, okay, how do we create more value, right, of the overall business? And then that's, you know, send out customer product surveys or whatever. So when we realized, hey, like, we could create a subscription business off of this. Like, we could really parlay this OG Birdie acoustic product, right, and parlay it into like an IoT product.
IoT so is Internet of Things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Connected to a mobile app, connected to the internet. This product. So we spent all of last year basically developing it in 2021, and we launched it in June of this year. And I can't say how many subscribers we have, but Matt knows it's gone relatively well over the past 6 weeks. So really, we're really excited to focus our growth on this new product and get a bunch of subscription revenue, which will hopefully value the business on a top line number of the subscription plus whatever EBITDA we have from the other business, and have that transition over the next 2 or 3 years.
Right. So that's a good groundwork and good catch up summary and context of Birdie Plus. And so it's
let me explain app. What it does actually.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I was about to, but yeah.
Yeah. So Birdie Plus. So the original Birdie, it just makes a noise. You pull the pin, it makes a noise, and it flashes a light. Birdie Plus connects to an app, iOS and Android, and it does 4 things. It still makes a sound if you pull the top. It if you press a button once, you get this fake. We call it an excuse to leave call. So if you're a woman, you're at a bar, and some guy's hitting on you, and you're uncomfortable, but you don't want to pull the alarm and make a bunch of noise and cause a lot of attention to the scene, you could press a button and you'll get a phone call, and you kind of play along where it's like, hey, sorry to bother you, but could you come home? I really need you. And then it kind of gives you an out, right? It gives you an excuse to leave. The second feature, or the third feature, is if you press the button on the alarm twice, it calls, essentially dispatches like an emergency service, right? So that's the second feature. The fourth feature, that if you hold the button for 3 seconds, it shares your location with your emergency contacts. So that's like the connected, upgraded features for that. And I guess for more context, we saw the original Birdie for $30 online. This one is $40 plus an $8.99 a month subscription or an $89.99 annual subscription. So that's just kind of like product A and product B and the differences.
Yeah, so that makes a ton of sense. And so it took it's all in your Birdie. Like you said, this business and that business, but just to clarify, like it's just a second product, and right. It is a set different type of alarm, and it has a subscription tied to that product. So you got the original Birdie, still same cost, same product, same kind of use case, and then Birdie Plus comes into play. You weren't really e-commerce people to begin with, and then you're definitely not like SaaS people to begin with. So how did you go about how did you build this thing over the 2021, and how did you just go about that? Yeah, I know we talked about that a lot, but I just want to hear your experience about it and your lessons, and if you do it again differently, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we used third parties to build it. So we hired a firmware engineering firm that basically engineered the electronics in the actual alarm. We worked with an industrial design firm that did the product design, like the look and the feel of the product. And then the firmware firm worked with a software agency who developed the app and database. And also, we have another shout out to someone that you introduced us to, Shane Rostad, who's really one of the smartest people that I know, who originally was just supposed to redesign our website and maybe do some landing page testing, A/B testing, whatever. But he took a big role in developing a lot of the back-end technology that connects the Shopify store with our own app database. So that's how we built it, and it was an expensive process, right? Way more expensive than we had realized. But I think this is also kind of goes to some of the conversation that we could have. Is how are we able to fund the development of this product? Because it costs well over 7 figures, right? So how do you have cash to spend, right? If we wanted to come up with this product from the get-go, right? You have to go raise money. There's just, right. It's just super expensive to get to develop the product. And then on top of that, you have to market it and sell it, obviously, right? So that's money. But I think where I will brag a little bit is that we were able to fund the whole development cycle through cash flow. And we were still cash flow positive, and we still had cash at the end of last year, as you know, Matt. That whole, so we didn't really sit on our laurels, right? And we could have just all taken home fat checks, right? I mean, we still took home medium checks, but not like fat checks, right? And we took that money and parlayed it into a product that we thought could ultimately be of much greater value in the next, few years of the business. And I'm pretty grateful that we had the foresight and almost courage to just like do it, right?
Right.
We didn't know anything about industrial engineering or like firmware engineering. Like, what the hell is that?
No clue.
All the code I know is
so
Hello
different.
World.
Yeah. Basic computer science 100, like first day of class stuff. Yeah. So you took a year to like test and build and work with all these partners, and you get this sucker off the ground and you launch it. It doesn't take off immediately.
No.
But what was, and you don't have to say the numbers, but what were some of the things that you ended up adjusting or tweaking, or like what did you do to make it work? like what kind of things, what levers did you pull, what buttons did you press?
Yeah, so like you said, when we launched it, it was cool. It was like embers though, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that fire yet. So I think this kind of framework really applies to a lot of how brands need to think about their growth, right? I think a lot of brands or a lot of businesses might think, oh, I just need to fix my ad account and then that'll fix my entire business, right? But I kind of think of it like from like a fishing perspective, right? You could have the best rod and reel and tack in the world, but if you don't have a net to land the fish, that homie's not getting in the freaking boat. And I'm Asian, I like fish. I'm Japanese, actually. I like fish. Okay, I like fishing. It tastes good. It's nutritious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you need a net. So I tend to think like bottom up versus like or bottom of funnel and then work your way to the top of the funnel. And then you can make those options and then work that way. So really the thing that really clicked overnight was that we changed the offer, product and pricing, as Andrew says, where originally on the site you'd have to buy the alarm and then you'd have a choice of an annual or a monthly subscription, right, to purchase. and you have to pay all of that up front. And you can imagine people were used to going from buying a $30 alarm to now $40 alarm plus some subscription fee. It's a lot more friction, right? There's a lot more. I don't know what the word is. I'm not that smart. The mentality of the customer. There's a lot more objections that you have to overcome. That's the word.
I'm not that smart. You're street smart, Richie. You're not book smart.
No, yeah, maybe I don't know about either of that, but so we changed it. We changed the offer. So basically, the new offer was that we're giving you the first month free, right? So when you add it to cart, the only thing you add to cart is the alarm. And then it says you're going to be charged a subscription after the first 30 days. And really, when we made that change, it like 10x'd our sales. Like, no joke. It was like pretty crazy. And I started doing Shopify Live View again. That's how crazy it was. I started watching those dots light up. So now we're, that's what really put fuel on the fire.
So it's easy to like look back and realize like, yeah, that's what did it. But at the time, what were you thinking? What were you going through? What led you to decide to change from that like subscription up front to the first month off? What other things did you try and test before you got to that like winning offer?
We tested a variation of that. We tested messaging where it was like the first 30 days free. But honestly, that was like the biggest thing of just changing, not charging people for the subscription on the first month. The fact they were able to push it back to the second month or the third month, it just really changed. It just really changed the whole thing. And I think the biggest takeaway was like, yeah, dude, like when you need like a 10x change, you need to be taking 10x swings, right? Like you got to be doing drastic things like tweaking ad copy or like ad creative isn't going to do jack shit. You know what I mean? It might change things like 10%. It's not going to change things 10x. The thing that's 10x is, I think it's usually the offer, right? If you just have something, a good product to sell, then that could be 10x different, right? It's not going to be, most likely not going to be like ad creative or email copy or let's send emails at this time instead of this time. Or let's change these like circles on the website and do some CRO. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
Come on, man. Big boy stuff. No small boy stuff.
Exactly.
So 10x, just the offer, it's the pricing. You removed that friction. You lowered the bar, the threshold to entry, saying, "Hey, yeah, you pay this later. Like the subscription starts later." And so, yep. Richie, is that for monthly payments or annual payments or both? Is it they're both still delayed? But is it?
Well, yeah. Currently, now we're only offering monthly. Actually, today we're going to switch to only annual to see if the take rate goes down because we like to lock people into annual, right? Annual is better than monthly. So we're going to test annual now.
Wow. You're testing that now because as of this recording, it's 10/14. So Black Friday's in 5 or 6 weeks, right? So
yep.
Now's the time to do it, huh?
Yep. And yeah, I think like the way to think about when you think about problem solving in your business, like the way we thought of, at least the way that I thought about it is like you're an NFL, you're a quarterback, right? You're a football quarterback, and then when you snap the ball, you just got to work through your progressions. I think Dave Herman actually put out a tweet like, I don't know if you're testing all these things at once, you actually don't know what works, and that's so true. You know what I mean? I think there's this like shiny object or like I got to do all these different things that everyone on Twitter, all these gurus on Twitter that we actually don't know if they're legit or not. That's not the conversation. But hey, this person on Twitter said to do this, so I want to do this. Oh, and then this person on Twitter said to do this. So then you end up doing like 50 different things at the same time. And then your whole thing is a shit show. Yeah. And those people don't have context into actually how your business operates. So then you're just kind of like running around chasing your tail, you know?
Yeah, and these could be, it looks like 10x results for them, but for you, it could be that could be a 10% thing. When you're going Birdie Plus into a subscription, that's a whole different story. That's a 10x offer play, right? So big difference there. So you're racking up these subscriptions, and we haven't really mentioned unfortunately, too much about like why do you think that the original Birdie and now Birdie Plus, how it's small, it's lightweight, it's easy to ship, right? Like, did you guys factor all that in the beginning, or did you kind of just figure it out along the way? Like, oh, that was beneficial to us. Like and then how does that affect cash flow or not? Like, how does that help you guys? Yeah. What are you leveraging off of that?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, and one that we talked a lot about over text. Unit economics matter, and we didn't realize how blessed we were with fantastic unit economics until we started plugging numbers into spreadsheets, and we're like, oh, we don't need to win at a 3 or a 4x or a 5x ROAS. Oh, we could win at sub 2 ROAS? That's amazing. Like, oh my God, OMG. You know what I'm saying?
OMG, dude. Yeah, dude.
Wow. Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
Really incredible.
You know? And I think, you know, if I were to start a business again or start a brand, you got to think about those things, right? I say, like, you know, you can't, if you're betting on a 99th percentile outcome, that's not a good place to be. You know, like, you don't want to have your success be in the 99th percentile outcome, like 1% success rate. Like, I'd rather be somewhere in the middle. I have way more confidence that thing is actually going to happen, right? And just today, like, you know, getting a 4x, 5x ROAS on Facebook every day is just probably not possible when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on advertising.
Yep. Yeah, and like you guys realized, and I think I was small part of that 2 years ago, realizing like, yeah, you could start spending more faster and scale up, and rather keep making this fat chunk of cash every time. You could increase your volume, increase the velocity, and so you can scale up more because you're a single product SKU. And if you guys were knowing where you wanted to go to sell, you want to go and get there faster. You don't want to just like, let's just hang out, wait for 10 years and like cash flow the brand. Like, you could have done that and just chilled out at that 5x ROI at 10, 20, 30K a month and spend and just like chilled. But that's not what you guys wanted. That's not what you guys needed. Right. You were looking for this outcome. And so, and it's lightweight, it's small, okay. Last thing about like kind of the fulfillment operation side of stuff. What is your take on this whole unboxing experience and packaging and stuff like that? Because last time I remember when I got my Birdie for someone, it wasn't this insanely thought out, detailed, amazing unboxing experience.
No, you know, I think so when we ship it, we send it in a freaking brown box with some tissue paper, some stickers, and like a thank you postcard. This might be a hot take, but if you have to sell the product that much more, in my opinion, after someone buys, then like, is your product really that nice? You know, that's one take. Another take is it's an order of operation thing, right? Like, how important, like, is that like a big boy lever or small boy lever? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think for us, we never really felt like that's going to like make a huge difference in our sales, and especially our business. It's a single product SKU. There's not really a case for repeat purchases. So it's not like, hey, get like 10% off your next order, because most people are only going to order once, you know? So just, it's like trying to fish in a dried up pond. Like, ain't no fish in there, bro. Like, just
no fish in there.
Ain't no fish in there. Go find something else. Go find a barrel with a bunch of fish in it. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stop wasting your time. But for some brands, it might make sense.
Yep. That's exactly what I was trying to get at, is like, if you have a more expensive, more luxury, more like less functional product, that's the thing. Like, yours is like, it's a product that looks good, but its main use is function. It's functional, right? It has a purpose. It solves a problem. It's not this, I just spent $250 on clothes. Like, let me feel good about it. Let me flex on Instagram that I bought all this shit, or I got the latest drop, or I got the latest sneak, whatever it is, right? So it totally depends on the brand. So I just want to make sure I pointed that out and had you talk about that, because some people are like way too over indexed on that, and it totally depends for your brand. So
yeah, especially if you're early on, I could tell you your unboxing experience is probably not going to make a difference. If you're like sub $2 million, like, go fix your unit economics, go fix your product, go fix your offer. Like, just figure out a channel to get sales. Like, that's not going to really make a difference.
Yep.
Like a material difference where you're like, oh, I'm going to get to 5 million off of this. Like, no.
It's small boy lever at that point, not a big boy lever. Yeah.
Small boy lever. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. A quick reminder from our sponsor. Checkout Links allows you to create simple and effective short links that go straight to your checkout for your social media pages, paid ads, customer support tickets, direct messages, holiday-specific offers, brand new product launches, or even adding a QR code to your packaging or insert with a checkout link for easy reordering in just seconds. Once again, go to checkoutlinks.com to learn more and install that Shopify app. That's checkoutlinks.com/Matt. So what has been, you've been at this for it's basically 3 years now in your role as head of growth. And that doesn't encompass half the stuff that you actually end up doing across operations and finances and all this stuff. But what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about yourself or through the business through this last 3 years? You're getting to this, at this point, I've been through it, so I'm able to remember the ups and downs with you. But with these episodes, with these shows, it's always yeah, we did this, we did that, and then we got to this much. We're making millions of dollars every year. What were some of the moments where is this going to work? What huge problems did you end up solving that we didn't talk about yet? I want to get a little more real and a little more not hindsight, and just make it seem like this is super easy.
Yeah, no. I think the first, the biggest, a lesson that I learned was dude, understanding finance is so important. Especially, in all business, finance, it just matters. So what I do, what I spend a lot of my time on to try to get concrete is I project cash flow, and off of that I project sales, and off that I project cash flow and inventory needs, right? And having understanding of how cash moves through our business, right? Hey, we need to make an order now. How long is it till that order comes in? You know what I mean? How much do we need to pay for shipping? Can I order far enough out so I could save $40,000 per shipment of putting it on a boat instead of putting it on a plane, right? So having understanding of how cash moves through your business is really important. Understanding financing is really important. Okay, I know a lot of people are taking these freaking Wayfire loans, and I haven't looked into this, so I shouldn't bash them. These settle loans, these Shopify loans, and it's hey, here's $100,000 now. You're going to pay us 5% back of your daily sales until you pay us back $120,000. Well, guess what, buddy? Do you know that's basically a credit card interest rate? That's 20% APR. That's super high. You know what I mean? So it sounds good, but low key, you're kind of getting shafted,
Low key.
Not even low key, high key getting shafted.
High key getting shafted. Yep.
High key getting shafted. So understanding finance is really important. And I think one of the things that made us successful was channel diversification. Okay, this is another thing that kind of irks me, is that once iOS 14 happened, everyone and their mom who had businesses, who are service providers, who are not Facebook ad buyers, said, hey, you need to come to my channel. You need to come spend money on Google. You need to spend money on Snapchat. You need to spend money on TikTok. Hey, you need to optimize your website. You need to optimize your emails. You need to optimize your SMS. And while, yes, all this is true, guess what? First of all, if you're buying any sort of digital media, all of those freaking platforms got affected the same way that Facebook did. Okay, it's like being in everyone's gonna get hit by the tsunami, bro. Like you're not avoiding it. It's not like you have like a house in the
Little,
sky.
yeah, a little too soon about the tsunami, maybe with the hurricane, but we're gonna move on. We're
Oh,
gonna move past
my
that.
bad, my bad, my bad. My bad, Shane. um, we succeed. We have cash in our business because we sell on Amazon, because we sell some wholesale, different channels, right? That's like channel diversity, like distribution. Channels is important. Not marketing. Marketing channels are important, but secondary to distribution channels, right? We're gonna do almost 8 figures this year on Amazon, and we were hesitant to get on Amazon, and when we first started, because you hear stories or whatever about bad experiences. Also, being driven by data is really important. I think sometimes, especially as you start to get more removed from like the day to day of certain things, then you start forming narratives around like, hey, our customers do this, without even having looked at the data. You know what I mean? There is a difference between the way you want who you think your customers are and who you want them to be and how you want them to behave, versus who they actually are and how they actually behave. So making decisions off of that, and not just like a narrative that you tell yourself, is very important. I think over time we learned that, hey, things are going to be okay. You know what I mean? I think I first really started annoying Matt. I remember this in September of 2020. We were on pace to do a $1 million a month, and that would have been like freaking crazy, right? We were just like writing. It was like, I was like, oh, it's like working. We're like printing, like we're gonna do $1 million at like over a 3x ROAS. Like, damn, this is like crazy. You know what I mean? And then like the last week of the month, shit just started like hitting the fan. But actually, looking back, it didn't even really hit the fan. It only went down by like 20%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I was scared. I was like, oh man, are we going to do like $1 million like in November, December? Like, I don't know if this is going to happen. And then it happened. Okay. So like, I think especially like, like ad buyers, I don't know how you guys fucking do it, but like you're not riding like that emotional roller coaster every day.
Yeah. No, really quick on that is like, it's really hard to like back that out and take that perspective, especially when you're in the moment. Like 3 or 4 days in a row seems like, oh my gosh, that's a trend. Like, oh no, everything's going to crap. That's almost a whole week a time. But you've been super above over performance for so long, and you're now trending back down to the mean. And this mean is it's still higher than it was before. So, and it's your first real Black Friday. So understanding that buyer behavior, literally nothing you could have done differently, was going to slow down and take shape in its own way in the September, October. And then you freaking blew it up. I forget the exact numbers on those last 2 months, but just absolutely insane, absolutely incredible numbers. And now you're like,
absolutely incredible.
Like you don't even remember those. Well, you do apparently do remember those days of struggling and worrying, but you're not like, you have that to pull back on every Black Friday. At this time every year, you're kind of like, okay, well, I learned that lesson. Like, what else is happening in the world? What other events are happening? Is it me? Is it the economy? Like, there are other things that can be influencing and factoring into your business success or struggles or slowdowns. So
yeah,
I think that is a really good point. And just wanted to add in a little bit more there. So you want to be investing into things that are like gonna de-risk your business, right? So the more places that you sell and the more money that each of those individual places generate, or more cash that they generate, the more de-risked your business is, right? If your Shopify channel goes down by 50%, well, hey, if Shopify is only 30% of your overall business, you're only losing 15% of revenue, not 15, not 50. You know what I mean? So I think of it like conquering cities, right? You do the conquest and then you install the government to run it. And once the government is installed to run the city, then you go to the next city and conquer the next city. Like Alexander the Great did. Like Alexander the Great did. So you're
same thing as selling stuff on the internet.
Same exact thing, no differences whatsoever. So I gave Richie all these awesome, well, I think awesome, cool, creative ideas like throughout 2020, 2021. I kind of slowed down and realized like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He knows a lot more than me. He diversified, and he's a one man show with
And
some
he's also
contractors.
lazy.
Well, okay, mostly not that, but like he has like he's a one man internal marketing team. And he has to do ops and finances and be the point of contact for all these agencies and freelancers and stuff. So he luckily didn't take my advice too much and go all these crazy different
No, I took
directions.
a lot of it.
But about this specifically, like going all these different directions, like, oh, you need to do media, own brand, and all these sort of things that you still haven't really needed or done yet. So one of those was Amazon at the time, but you weren't at the point yet to be able to have the time, to have the right contact, the resource, and the time and systems to be able to actually run Amazon. And so when you did it, it was the right time to do it. And so it's diversification, it's de-risking, but there's a time and place for it. Like that took time and took like a lot of effort and a lot of learning and the right partner, shout out to Mark, to kind of learn all that and get that set up, right? But then like wholesale and bulk orders and these like big buys, like, that came at a certain point too. You didn't just do all this from day one. So it's diversification, it's de-risk, but there's an
order of operations.
Yeah.
It's PEMDAS, PEMDAS, algebra, man. But yeah, to that point, I think what happens a lot at the time, this is what I was going to like everyone on Twitter saying their piece, right? Which is probably true to some extent. These people are not complete idiots. There's a lot of smart people on Twitter, right? But having the understanding of how that fits into the context of your business and how that fits into the context of your growth plan is very important, right? You might want to go do owned media. Well, guess what? That's a totally different operation. And if you don't have any cash in the business because you're investing it or spending it somewhere else, then that's probably just not a realistic option for you, right? And just having that understanding and having like a real plan, I think is important. I don't know how many entrepreneurs actually make a real plan, but a real plan is important in my opinion.
So and so just to quickly clarify on something and then talk about this planning thing. So if you want to do own media, organic, social, depends on your strength, depends on your product, depends on your current capacity and resources. Like I'm decent at writing. I'm decent at in front of a mic. I'm getting better at it now. And all this, this is like totally getting used to this. I'm getting more used to this, but not every founder is like this. Not every founder or internal person has these like skills and experiences to be able to just all of a sudden start a newsletter that's content based or like a long-term play, right? It's if you're barely surviving, if you're barely profitable, you can't just look for these like huge, like slow plays. Sometimes you can't, you can't do that. So you went to Amazon, you did wholesale, you have Shopify, you're all distributed now, but talk to me a little bit more about this plan thing. Like, what do you like? How do you approach planning? You mentioned cash flow and like inventory and ordering and all this stuff, but like zoom back out even. And you've mentioned before, like we had it when you guys started the brand early on. You're like, we want to build to sell, right? And then a little later on in the episode, you mentioned, oh, we kind of changed our minds a little bit the last couple of weeks, and you didn't really even tell me about it yet. So tell me a little bit more about that and like how these plans start and what you mean by planning, and then how they change and adjust and adapt over time.
Right. So I think in terms of planning, the number one, like the farthest endpoint goal that you could set, the better, right? Because that way you can ladder back each step, right? And then you could figure out, okay, if we want to sell the business for X number in Y years, what's it going to take each year to get there, right? From a marketing perspective, from a product perspective, from a distribution perspective, from a team building perspective, from a finance and capital perspective, and how does that evolve over the next like whatever Y years, right? And how does that affect what I do today, right? So I think a lot of early stage businesses, I think the default goal, in the short run, no matter what the end goal is, unless you're like venture backed and go down that route, is you need to be default alive. You got to have money, right? If you don't have money, that's not a business, right? You're going to go out of business, you know? So for us, what that equated to was, hey, what things are going to give us the quickest and most ROI, right? Largest ROI in the shortest time frame, right? And selling on Amazon, once that got set up, that added another 6 figures a month to the top line and another 5 figures a month to the bottom line, right? If we invested in SEO, that could, you know, we still haven't done that yet, but, you know, they say it could be like a 6 to a 12-month payoff, and I'm paying, you know, 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 grand a month for that service. That's actually sucking cash out of your business in hopes of getting to some payoff, and that's not even guaranteed, right? So instead of diversifying to different channels, which becomes I think becomes a little more marketing channels, which became a little more expensive, right? Marginally more expensive, like adding SEO for another $6,000 a month is not going to add 10x that to the top line every month, I don't think, especially in our business. So it was like collecting all the low-hanging fruit. Okay, let's get on QVC. Let's do some retail. Let's get on Fair. We have this other like TV thing partnership. And then once you have the cash, then you figure out how do you allocate your cash, right? Do you allocate your cash towards product development? Do you allocate cash towards hiring, team building, right? Where do you want to allocate your cash to invest in the growth, to get to, you know, the final destination? And for us, since we wanted to sell, or, you know, we still want to sell, but now maybe the time frame's a little weird. We knew that we needed to create a product that's just going to be valued differently than what we had. So we knew, yeah, it'd be cool if we try to do all these marketing things and become known and do whatever. But in order for us to get to the end goal, we need to do this very, very, very important thing that's going to allow us to get there. And once that's complete, that thing was built. Now let's start thinking about what's the next big lever to pull to get there, right? And over time, you could afford to take small bets, right? We spent $100,000 on podcasts, not continuing it, but we were able to take a chance on it, right? So, you know, I think having like a true plan really means like understanding what you want this business to look like. How does that fit in? One, how do you have a good life? How does that business fit into your life? And then what are the main steps that you need to get to that point? Not just, oh, I'm going to jack up revenue all day and lose money.
Yeah. So there's going fast, there's going slow and calculated and kind of working backwards. So you kind of identify the end goal and work your way back. And again, we're probably like, it's way oversimplified, like, but that's what you have to do. You got to pick a direction and start walking that way. So,
and you got to understand what your attributes are. You know what I mean? Like your DNA. Like, I'm not going to make it to the NBA. Just a matter of fact. Look at me. I'm a 5'5" Asian homie. You know, fucking fat as hell. It ain't going to work. I ain't going to be in the NBA with Braun or Draymond or Podmon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's realistic? Wait, if I could do spreadsheets, you know.
So how does that equate to the business and the brand side?
So from the business side, okay, I'll give you like a concrete example. If you're a beverage business, you know multiples on beverage businesses are extremely high, and they're valued on a top line number, right? So you're just by having a business in bev category, you have the potential, albeit it's very small, like 1 or 2%, that you have the potential to grow it into a multi-$100 million business, enterprise value, right? Just because that's how those businesses are valued, right? If you are, what's a good example? Like Birdie, like original Birdie, you're going to be valued off of EBITDA multiple. You're not a repeat purchase business. You're almost like a flash in the pan. It's like you have a fuse and it's going to burn out eventually. So the value, the total value to that business is not going to be high, right? So you either got to change the DNA of the business and give it attributes so that it could achieve a higher outcome, or just understand what you have and maximize for that. If we didn't want, we would just probably maximize for like putting $1 million each in our pocket every year. You know what I mean? Like that's a different optimization than trying to sell something for multi-$100 million. It's different. But you got to know what's kind of possible with what you have. And if it's not possible, then you got to see, is it possible to change it or not? And don't try to shoot for that like crazy outcome. Like you can't just be like, oh, we're Birdie, now we're going to start selling soda. Like, no, what the hell?
Wouldn't have worked. Yeah. So you looked at the goal. You're like, okay, your goal is still this big outcome. Like you guys want to go for it. And you looked at what your current product. Oh, we're going to need to get to like 50 to 80 to $100 million in pure revenue to get even close to where we want your exit to be, because it is off EBITDA, not top line, right? So, okay, cool. We either change our goal or we change our DNA. And so you guys looked at that, like, okay, cool. Well, we still want that. So how do we change the DNA? That's how Birdie Plus, the subscription, the tech, the app, all this came about, because you turned yourself into the one-off buying product. Just Facebook arbitrage, essentially, was your business for a little while. And now you're building this subscription. You're building this, like, you can build onto this. You can like upgrade the app. You can like do things to it as you go. You can kind of do additional stuff now that you've kind of opened this up. But you're still, keep going.
Yeah, another analogy is like the food analogy. I call it the cow analogy. I love steak. I love meat. It tastes so delicious. Okay. I don't care who you are. A ribeye is just going to taste better than chuck. Right? If you have a piece of chuck, you're going to have to probably ground it up and make it into a hamburger. And a hamburger is great. You know what I mean? But it's different from a nice, medium rare, juicy steak. Okay? Yep. So you got to know what you have. If you want the ribeye and you have a piece of chuck, one, change your expectation and be okay with having a great cheeseburger, or say, screw it, I need to go get that ribeye, and it's just different than what I have right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good one.
I like food.
Okay, I love food. You love food. Food is great. Big fan. So, okay, starting to like wind down here. Is there anything you want to mention about the past, about lessons, the frameworks, experiences, or if there's anything that you're looking forward to, or that you want to talk about, or should we just wrap it?
Just find a great friend like Matt. Could tell you what to do.
Okay,
that's all you need to succeed.
Yeah, that's it. Friendship is what we are all looking for. Is like big success. Yeah.
No, but yeah, like I said, the finance thing is important. Know what outcome you want and reverse engineer to that. Know what you have on your hands. And going forward, it's going to be pretty interesting building out, like, now we're going to start building out like the B2B sales channel. Matt briefly mentioned, we got some deals with bulk orders where they've ordered like 10,000 alarms at a time. And I'm like, oh, this is great for our cash. We did a partnership with Nike, just finished a partnership with Bumble. It's been pretty awesome. So we're going to grow that side of the business out more now that we have the Birdie Plus that we could hopefully sell people. So that'll be interesting. And I'm interested to see if we grow our EBITDA margin over time. right? And the more that we could grow our EBITDA margin, the more optionality it gives us. Like, that's where I was kind of going with, hey, maybe we don't need to sell in like the next few years. Maybe we could hold it out, bank millies each year, and then sell for maybe a billy. You know what I mean?
For a billy, maybe just effort out and go for a billy real quick. Like,
yeah, we'll see.
Wow. Okay, well that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for jamming with me. This is all the stuff we've talked about over text the last 2.5 years, and so much more. But now people actually kind of know who you are, where you're coming from, what your experience is like, and your perspective. So that next episode, they're like, okay, Richie said this. I understand where Richie's coming from, his experience, and
he's not just a rando.
He's not a total rando. Like you're too busy like working to like do 20 threads a week on Twitter, but you are going to start threading it up soon. So
try.
Follow Richie on Twitter. Go check out Birdie. Is it still she'sbirdie.com? Yeah,
she'sbirdie.com.
Go check it out. Buy Birdie, but ideally buy Birdie Plus. Get that subscription. Cool. I think that's it for this one. Next episode is with Tom again, and then me and Richie will be back the one after that. Thanks for listening. Appreciate y'all, and catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Matt.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I love being able to do this and meet with people that are smart and enthusiastic and just want to share what they have to know about all things D2C. Every rating and review and episode you share with a friend means a ton to me as I continue to bootstrap this show as part of my small little media brand, High Key Geek. If you haven't checked out my other show, E-Commerce Uncovered, you should. It's a little more tactical and practical, and I've guest experts on to learn from freelancers, agency owners, in-house marketers, and founders, all in an effort to help you continue to bootstrap your D2C brand profitably. 2 episodes a week will have you staying up to date on the ever-changing industry and learning fundamental concepts and tactics for you to apply to your own brand. That's E-Commerce Uncovered on the High Key Geek YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else you find your podcasts. Catch you next time.